Start with Jay Williams' statement there. Agree or disagree with what Jay is saying?
It's difficult for me, Jason, because I have become known around the internet as a bit of a Jokic defender. Maybe I go a little too far in my defense and praise of him from time to time, but I think the guy is actually, until recently, has been vilified by and large by large sectors of the mainstream media, particularly ESPN, for whatever reason, has been on this like hate quest of Nikola Jokic, and it's been led by Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has voted for Nikola Jokic one time in the last 5 years for MVP, but he goes beyond that. In the last 3 years, he has been openly campaigning against Nikola Jokic. So when I see this, I feel like I have to get on my little white horse and go to battle for Nikola and try to defend the veracity of what he's accomplishing right now. But now it looks like the praise is going in a different direction. Especially, I have seen Jay Williams taking up the crusade for Jokic for basically the last 24 hours. And it's hard for me, Jason, to compare this era with any other eras. I think basically throughout all of NBA history, the 60s have generally somehow, for some reason, become an era where they get this asterisk because of the exorbitant statistics, the pace of play, the rate, the scoring. So a lot of people look at, what Will Chamberlain did, even Elgin Baylor in that era, and Oscar Robertson, and they kind of diminish it because of what was going on in the NBA comparatively to the other eras. But look, we've gotten to that point now from 2014, 2015-ish till present. We're basically in the 60s. When you look at the pace of play, the rate, the scoring, it's basically right there commensurate with what we were seeing in the 1960s. So, and what happened in 2014, 2015, that's right when Nikola Jokic came in the NBA. So essentially his entire era has been played in this kind of watered down defensive, standpoint that the game has reached. So it's hard for me fundamentally to say he's better than Hakeem Olajuwon or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's difficult to say that. I think, quite frankly, though, I am at a point where I can say he is better than Shaq. I think that Nikola Jokic has put down probably a better resume to this point, I think, than Shaquille O'Neal. And I think just the tangible on-court product, you can make a pretty stunning case that Jokic has surpassed Shaq. The other guys, the upper echelon, like the 2 or 3 best centers of all time, I don't know about that yet, Jason.
Yeah, I would think the guy that would be the best in this era of the old guys is probably Hakeem Olajuwon. I think in this era, he would have had a three-point shot, and in this era, he would get whatever he wanted in the paint. His footwork, his shots, it was just too good, and he would put up Jokic-like numbers. It's interesting because I've never heard this point, and I apologize for not being this informed. But in the 1960s, they had the same kind of pace of play that we have now?
It's similar, Jason. Yeah, it's ratcheting up there in terms of pace and number of possessions. But when you really, you just have to look at the raw scoring, quite frankly. I mean, the 1960s were anywhere between 115 to 118 per game for that decade. And I mean, look at the precipitous drop-off throughout the rest of NBA history. It lingered around 108 to 110 in the 80s. Then when you get into the 90s, it started ratcheting down into the mid-90s per game, where it stayed till about 2008 or 9. We were like barely even over 100 points. Now it's back to 115 points per game. Like it was 114, 115 the last 2 years. That's right about where we are right now. So I think a lot of people.
What brought it down? What brought it down from the 1960s? Why did scoring dip in the 80s, 90s, 2000s?
Well, you could say it kind of a two-folded approach. I mean, you could say that the players just became more competitive on the defensive side of the ball, by and large, for the vast majority of the NBA. But they also had some assistance from the league offices, in terms of allowing the physicality players to lay hands, the hand checking, which became, a prominent element within the sport into the 90s and the early 2000s. So really the better question, Jason, is what brought it back up? And it 100% unequivocally was the league. They freaked out with how slow the game had become, how prodding, methodical, and physical that it became. The current commissioner, Silver, is on record as saying that the former style of play in the 90s and 2000s was, quote, gross to watch, and that it was too physical, and it took away, the gracefulness and the skill of certain players. And he highlighted Steph Curry as a guy that probably wouldn't have been able to exist in the 90s and early 2000s. So the league started to systematically take defense out of the NBA. They removed the hand checking. The zones are pervasive now throughout. And basically from right around like 2012 on, we've seen this ratcheting up of scoring to the point where we are now essentially in the Wild Wild West. It's like the 1960s. We see the triple doubles are off the chart right now. Players scoring 50 plus points over the last decade. There's basically been more 50-point games over the last 10 years as there were in all of NBA history before it. If you take out Wilt's, onslaught in the 60s. So there's just been this ongoing back and forth, I think, within the league. Like, do we incentivize offense? Do we allow defense? We're in a point now where offense is definitely being incentivized, and Jokic has just cornered the market. He's dominated the NBA now like really no player has in this era. I think it's fair. So you asked me originally, this segment started asking me about Kareem and Hakeem. I can't necessarily answer that, Jason, but what I can answer is from like 2010 to now. So that encompasses Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James. From that point till now, Jokic is the best player that has existed in that time frame. That's how far I'm willing to go. He's better historically right now, in my estimation, than LeBron James and Steph Curry.
That's a mouthful. That's saying a lot. And it's with only one title, how can you say that?
Well, that's a great question, and I actually want to invoke the name of the great Hakeem Olajuwon, because to me, Hakeem is an undervalued and underrated player. He is in my top 5 all time. A lot of people have him top 10, maybe around 11 or 12. He is in my top 5. He's arguably, to me, the greatest big man of all time. And he has merely 2 championships. But the reason, Jason, he only has 2 is because he simply did not have enough help. Now, that has become the did not have enough help cry, has become basically known. It's synonymous with petulant, entitled brats like LeBron James, who's been begging for more help for his entire career. But when you look at a guy like Hakeem Olajuwon, he legitimately did not have enough help. Essentially, his entire prime was played without a single all-star until his, 30s, when they got Clyde Drexler at the trade deadline in 95, 96. And then they won. He defended his championship from 94 with Clyde that they got, at the deadline. But basically, for his entire prime before that, he had essentially nobody. Otis Thorpe was his best player on the 94 championship run. So how can I overlook the fact that Jokic has only 1 ring when I myself value winning so much? Because Jokic has had it's a criminal level of lack of help that his organization has allotted him. People will talk about Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. and overrating the kinds of players that these guys are. Jokic is in his 10th season right now, Jason. That's 10 full seasons about to be completed within the next 6 games, essentially the next 2 weeks. He has never played with a single all-star, not one time, not one All-NBA player, not one All-NBA defensive player. Right now, if you look at this season, Jamal Murray, if you look at all the advanced analytics and stats, box plus minus, player efficiency rating, value over replacement, Jokic is leading the league by a mile in all of those things over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at number 2. But when you look at Shea's team, he has 6 other teammates in the top 70 in all of those advanced metrics, including a player like Jalen Williams, who's like in the teens in that range. So, of course, this is a historically great team. Of course, they're maybe going to win 70 games and run away with the Western Conference, probably win the NBA championship easily because they're absolutely loaded. But while there's 7 total players in the top 70 on the Thunder in BPM and PER, Jokic's best player is Jamal Murray at like 78th. So essentially, Nikola Jokic's best player is not even a top 70 player this year, and they're still going to somehow win 50 games. But this season is a microcosm for his entire career. This is the same team, basically, he's had for his entire career. The guy simply does not have the dogs to compete and win a plethora of championships. So just winning the one alone, to me, is enough. And it is damn impressive that he got that one in and of its own right, because it's something that Kevin Durant couldn't do. He had to go and jump ship and ride Steph Curry's coattails to his 2 and only championships. It's something LeBron James couldn't do. For 7 years, he stayed in Cleveland. He played at a very high level. He accrued 2 league MVPs. He got to 1 NBA final series where he got swept. He couldn't do it, Jason. He couldn't cut it. He had to cut bait, crawl on his hands and knees to South Beach and team with Dwayne Wade, then recruit Chris Bosh to win his first 2 titles. Then he went, of course, had another super team in Cleveland to win his next, and then Anthony Davis to win his 4th. Nikola Jokic has just stood pat. He stood in and he said, look, this is my organization. These are my teammates. I'm going to do the best I can with what I have, despite the fact it is a criminal lack of help. But he's done it and he's won a championship. I value that 1 title by Nikola Jokic more than any of the titles LeBron James has. So really, when you look at it, I'm looking now at individual dominance. And to me, Nikola Jokic is the most individually dominant player we've seen from 2010 on, surpassing LeBron James and Steph Curry fairly easily, in all honesty.
Holy cow. I might have to think about that one. Do you think there's enough momentum at his back now that he might get the MVP over Shea?
No, it's unequivocally over. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you could just shut it down right now. We might as well. Typically, they announce it like in the first round of the playoffs, and they will present the MVP to the winner sometime in the second round in some kind of a home game situation. But we don't need to wait that long, Jason. We might as well just wrap it up right now. Just give Shea, do they play tonight? Just give Shea the MVP trophy tonight. There was a preordained movement to begin the season, a anything but Jokic movement in terms of the MVP. The writers simply don't want to give it to this guy for a 4th time. So literally they were grasping at straws when they entered the season. Please present us with anything, any semblance of some storyline to allow us to not give it to Nikola Jokic. And with the fact that the Thunder are going to win 69 or 70 games, while, I mean, the Nuggets are going to struggle to win 50, I think that's all they needed. And look, Shea is a tremendous player, and he, in his own right, is having a historically great season, Jason. It's a historically great year by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but it's just not as good as Jokic, and it's not as valuable as what Jokic is providing. It should be Jokic. It's not going to be. So to answer your question, the answer is unequivocally no.
Has there ever been an example of a player on a team that wins 65, 70 games that loses the MVP to a guy that's got 20 less victories? Are there any examples of that where we really have gone with the best player rather than the best player on the best team?
No, there are no examples of that. There are some examples of fatigue, like with Jordan, which is what's happening with Jokic, where Jordan probably should have gotten a couple more. 92, 93 comes to mind readily, where it obviously should have been him. Barkley got it instead. Jordan got his ultimate revenge in the finals that year and beat the Suns. But at least that, and same with Karl Malone. Look, you can make another case. Karl Malone stole the one off Jordan too. But they at least won a lot of games too. You know, they were a commensurate win level with the Bulls, whereas look, the Nuggets are just, like you said, 18 or 19 games below. But Jason, if you look at it real quick, I don't want to get off on a tangent here. If you look at the net rating of remove Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the Thunder per 100 possessions for the whole year. So this is tracking data over the entire season of all the minutes that Shai was on and off the court. Per 100 possessions, if you remove Shai, the Thunder is still like +4 in net rating. Jason, that's a top 8 seed line. Like that's one of the 8 best net ratings in the whole NBA. So without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the team, basically I'm telling you this team's going to win 51 or 52 games over with a replacement level player. So Shai has taken a 51 or 52 win team and made them a 70 win team. So he's taken a very, very good team and made them, historically great. But when you look at what Jokic has done, if you remove him per 100 possessions, the Thunder's net rating is like -3. It's one of the 4 worst net ratings in the NBA. It's right around the Washington Wizards. So what I'm telling you is if you remove Jokic, and it bears it out, he's missed 12 games. They're 4-8 in those 12 games without Nikola Jokic, which is on pace to win about 26 games. So if you take Jokic out of the equation, that team's winning anywhere between 19 to 25 games with a replacement level player. He's taken that team and uplifted them to 50 while missing 12 games and while averaging a nearly 30-point triple-double. It is an absurd season. It's arguably going to be the worst MVP snub. You can make the case dating back to 61-62 when Will Chamberlain lost the MVP to Bill Russell that year, the famed year where Chamberlain averaged 50 and 25 per game, Jason, and averaged 48.5 minutes per game. Think that over. He played all 80 games that year, and he averaged 48.5 minutes, 1 minute, a half minute more than the games were long because his team that year played in 7 overtime games. So that allowed him to average more. He didn't miss a second of that entire season, averaged 50 and 25, but he won 11 fewer games than Bill Russell, and Russell got the MVP.
Cap, that was great. We're going to end there. Not going to talk about Russell Westbrook. Great job. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.